And welcome to Paranormal Files, Into the Darkness. I am your host, Sean Wagner. I'm the director of Central Pennsylvania Investigators and a founder of the CARC Population Research Collective. And of course, as always, I have my lovely co-host, Liz Jumper. How are you doing, Liz?
Hey, good, thanks. How are you, Sean?
Doing great.
Good.
Also, for everyone out there, the show is a super chat. So please give us a thumbs up and a share on Facebook, or thumbs up, subscribe, and share on YouTube, as well as don't forget to hit the bell so you can be notified of all future broadcasts we do. Also, if you have any questions along the way, please put them in all capital letters. Our next show will be Thursday, May 26th, when our guest will be Katie Burr from Everyday Paranormal. Brendan, can you air that or show that? Thank you. May 26th, Katie Burr from Everyday Paranormal, Ghost Lab, and The Investigators, their new podcast. June 9th, we'll have Mike Ricksecker. He'll talk about the Alaskan Triangle and Shadow People. June 23rd, we'll have Rick McCallum, who's an actor, stuntman, paranormal investigator, and member of the Hollywood Ghost Hunters. And then July 7th, we'll have on Patrick Burns from Haunting Evidence. He's also an author. All right. We have a great guest. What do you think, Liz, tonight? Come up tonight.
I think this is going to be a fantastic show.
Yep. Definitely be a great show.
Yep, Dave seems really lovely, so I can't wait to have him on.
Same here. Well, now for the real introduction. He's a longtime radio show host that delves deep into the realms of the strange, fringe, and bizarre in the paranormal field. Dave started off with Darkness Radio in 2006 until early this year when he started his own broadcast, Paranormal 60. And he interviews people from the paranormal world and news. It airs live at 1 a.m. Eastern on Tuesdays on the UNX network. He became also a regular fill-in host for George Noory on Coast to Coast AM that's heard worldwide with millions of listeners. Dave also co-wrote The Other Side, A Teen's Guide to Ghost Hunting and the Paranormal. He was also a lead judge on the Travel Channel hit miniseries Paranormal Challenge. He's also appeared on Travel Channel's #1 series, Ghost Adventures, numerous times, as well as Paranormal State on A&E and Haunted Hospitals. He was also the host on the Holzer Files and Paranormal Challenge. Originally from Illinois, Dave has been a resident of Minnesota since 1988 when he attended Winona State College and fell in love with the beauty and the people of the great state. With a growing interest in the world of the unknown on TV, film, and literature building each day, Dave decided to bring his unique views and experiences to the radio as the host of Darkness Radio. Dave has had an active interest in the paranormal since early in his childhood when he was visited by the spirit of his deceased grandmother. Continued activity and experience has kept this passion alive. You can access his paranormal talk radio host show Paranormal 60, which offers shorter interviews cutting to the heart of some of the most fascinating paranormal claims ever heard, with the most compelling guests and real-life experiences with the unknown at the following links on the UNX network, www.unxnetwork or unxnetwork.com/theparanormal60, and through YouTube, www.youtube.com/c/theparanormal60 with Dave Schrader. His website, where you can also reach him, of course, is darknessradio.com. He also has a number of upcoming events. May 20th and 22nd, he'll be at Parapsychon 3, Ohio State Reformatory. June 10th and 11th, Spirit and Sixth Sense Retreat at the historic Palmer House Hotel. June 17th and 25th, a trip to Ireland, which you can join him. July 8th and 9th, Old Juliet Prison, which is actually already sold out. July 23rd, New Jersey Paraunity Expo. July 30th, Oregon Bigfoot Festival and Beyond, Bigfoot Ghost Edition. August 13th, Bobby Mackey's. August 19th to the 21st, not too far from me, Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. August 25th to 27th, Michigan Paranormal Convention. September 19th to 26th, Darkness Radio Event Scotland. It's also sold out. October 12th to the 20th, Scotland is also sold out. February 2nd to the 6th, a cruise to the Bahamas where people can join him. And February 12th to 23rd, Egypt Obscuro, where you can also join Dave. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, our guest is Dave Schrader.
Hey, everybody. Good evening.
How are things going in Minnesota?
It's good. And after that lengthy introduction, thank you. And everybody have a good night. Holy cow. I think you left out my social security number, my birth date, and my favorite color, purple, in case anybody's asking.
Purple. I will add that at the end then.
Very good. Hey, are we having drinks tonight? You told me to bring one, so I'm breaking out the Screwball peanut butter flavored whiskey because that's how I roll.
Awesome. Yes, it's actually time for the toast. Liz, do you happen to have something?
I have my trusty hydro flask water.
Hey, that still works.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Yes, cheers.
All right. So, what do you guys want to know? Let's have a conversation. What do you guys want to delve into this evening?
All right. Well, I guess how were your parents growing up? I know actually you had
They were horrible. They're horrible human beings. Good God. All the other kids, they used to get birthday parties. My dad would just wrap my lunch in a map with a clearly routed route out of town. I don't know what that meant, but I don't think he wanted me around. That's what I was picking up. They were great. My mom and dad and my aunt were very much into the paranormal. My dad just he loved horror movies and scary things. So he was always cool and just hung back in the background. And my mom and aunt never really made it seem taboo or weird. So, it was always a part of my life growing up. And due to the fact that we all had kind of spiritual connections with my grandmother after she passed, that just bonded the three of us as well. And, my life just continued to grow from there. Whenever I had questions, Mom would answer them or my aunt would answer them about the paranormal, and they would encourage me to read. And I picked up books on every subject from, Bigfoot to chupacabras to Loch Ness Monster, UFOs, alien abductions, ghosts, the Amityville Horror, anything I could get my hands on to read and just kind of soak in that idea that there's something so much more than just the lives we lead every day.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll ask you some of that other stuff as well, certainly. I know. Can you talk about your grandmother first? You had an experience with your grandmother?
Yeah, my grandmother passed away when I was very young, about 2.5 years old. And she had never had a son. She had my mom. She had a baby that passed away in between, and then my aunt. And the baby in between was a boy. So they never got the joy of having a little boy. So when my mom got pregnant with me, and she was a single hippie in the 60s, I became the pride and joy of my grandpa and grandma's lives, and I was their little baby. And they were fantastic. And then when my grandmother passed away from years of heavy drinking, she started coming to visit me every time I would go to my grandfather's house to spend the night, and I would sleep in what was her old bedroom. My grandparents loved each other very much, but my grandfather snored horribly, so they had separate rooms at the opposite ends of the house. And when I would sleep in her room, she would come and talk me in and tell me stories, and that's kind of what we were doing.
Well, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So you also have about your grandfather that may have been related to the paranormal.
I'm sorry, your audio is really janky, so I'm only hearing about a third of each word you're saying. So I apologize. What was that?
All right. No, it might be me here. You have a dream of your grandfather that may have been paranormal related.
All right. I think what I heard you say was about my grandfather and that visitation dream. Yeah. He died in 1988, or actually, I'm sorry, 1990, and was, he was one of the biggest influences in my life growing up. We just loved him. I named my first son after him. And when my grandfather died, he had fought and beat cancer a few times. It just, he couldn't sustain it after that point, and he passed away. I took it really hard. Part of what drives me with my fascination in the paranormal is my fear of death. So losing somebody that close to me, that was the first time as really an adult or any age that I'd lost somebody that close. The only other time was my grandmother when I was 2.5, and I was too young to understand that process. So when my grandfather passed away, that really crippled me, and I was in a dark, dark place for quite a while. And then one night, I was having a dream, and I couldn't tell you what the dream was. I just know I was in a field of high grass, and kind of running through the field, and I heard my grandfather say, "Hey, kid." And I stopped and turned around, and suddenly I was in his house in New Orleans, or in not New Orleans, but Louisiana. And I turned back around, and the field was gone, and I was in the house, and I became acutely aware. It was a very lucid dream. I was aware that I was in a dream, and that I was hearing my grandfather. And as I was standing in the hallway looking out the back window, this was an old plantation style house, and the back house, their guest house, used to be the indentured people's house. So he used to, put a lot of his stuff in there and used it as storage. And I saw him come out of the house and make his way over to me, and he looked much younger. And I remember consciously thinking, I'm about to talk to a dead man. And he entered the house and kind of gave me that wry little smile of his. And he said, "Kid, we need to talk." And I said, "Okay." He said, "You're not dealing with this very well." I said, "No, I'm not." And we just had this wonderful conversation about life and death. And he tried to allay my fears about death and put me on a straighter path to stop being so concerned about it. And, here I am, 1990. So what, 30, 35 years later. And, still doing well. I haven't seen or heard from my grandfather again, but he's made his self known to my kids as a ghost. One day we were driving and my son Nathan was in the backseat and he was not able to speak. He was just baby jabbering all the time. And I had a very specific nickname for my grandfather. And I'm not going to say what it is on today's show because I'm still waiting for a medium to give me that name. And my little boy's sitting in the back seat and he's looking up. There's nobody there, and he's talking and and I'm like, "Hey, who are you talking to?" And he turned and looked me in the eyes in the rearview mirror, and he said my grandfather's name. And I was frozen, and I just said out loud, I said, "Grandpa, it's wonderful that you're visiting. Don't show yourself, or we're going to end up joining you much quicker than you want us to. Because if I see you in my back seat, we're going off a bridge, right?" So that was it, and that was kind of my one time. But there, I've got a lot of kids, and as I'm changing diapers, I've certainly watched them looking over my shoulder, gooing and guying at people that are not there, and I've heard them in their cribs talking to people that aren't there and carrying on little babbling conversations and giggling. So I'm sure my grandparents have come to visit many times.
Did you have abilities back in the day when you were young then?
I have had no abilities but the ability to raise both eyebrows independently of one another. That's the only real ability. No, I don't consider myself mediumistic or psychic in any way, shape, or form, although I have many medium and psychic friends that say, "Yeah, you are. Dude, you see ghosts." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's not like I go everywhere and see ghosts. I go when a ghost wants me to see it. That's when I have the experience." So, I grew up in a haunted house. We would hear footsteps and voices and doors opening and shutting and things going on all the time. So that was a part of my life growing up. I had experiences seeing a ghost of a neighbor that had passed away. I've had a UFO experience in 2006, a Bigfoot experience when I was about 12 years old in Foley, Alabama. So I've always been in the right place at the wrong time, or the wrong place at the right time, depending on how you look at it.
Anyone you looked up to from the paranormal?
Well, reading the books, I read a lot of Ed and Lorraine Warren's books. Of course, Dr. Hans Holzer, D. Scott Rogo, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Many different conversations were had with, not conversation, but many different books were read, whenever I can get my hands on them. Even Jay Anson's Amityville Horror and some of these others. I just wanted to educate myself and keep up with the story, see what was going on out there, and kind of challenge myself and my paradigm to what reality really was.
We're going to talk about more, obviously, your appearance on the Holzer Files. So can you tell us a little more about Hans Holzer?
Sure. Dr. Hans Holzer was one of America's preeminent paranormal investigators. He started back in the 50s and in an introductory way was kind of a sideline viewer at an event, and his sensitivity and the sensitive he was working with and the people he was there with picked up on the fact that he was keen to this and could pick up on a lot of what was going on. And they said, "Hans, this should be your career, as a journalist and pragmatic person, you should follow these cases and investigate them for yourself." And that's what he did. And he took copious notes and recorded everything and photographed and filmed and whatever he could to try to substantiate the claims. And he would always use a trance medium. And that is a medium that allows the spirit to speak through them. And he swore by it. He said that was the best tool to use on any type of paranormal investigation.
How did you get to be on the Holzer Files?
I bribed my way in. Because obviously I have a face made for radio, but I was lucky enough that when I did my old radio show, Darkness Radio, I had Hans Holzer on and his daughter Alexandra, and Alex was on for the first hour promoting her book, Growing Up Holzer. The second hour was Dr. Hans Holzer talking about his new book. Both of their books came out the same day, her first, his last, and we were the last radio interview he ever did before he passed away. And I stayed friends with Alexandra, and I used to run these big events, darkness events. And we would go to Eastern State Penitentiary and places out by her. So I would invite her and hire her to be a speaker, and she would come out, and we just, kicked it off as friends. And then lo and behold, all these years later, a network, a production company rather, reached out to me and said, "Hey, we'd really be interested in having you on a TV program as a lead investigator." And I was a little reticent because I didn't want to just reinvent the wheel. There's enough paranormal shows out there, and I kind of politely stepped aside. And then they said, "Well, sign this NDA so we can tell you a little bit more about it." So I did, and then they informed me that I would be following in Dr. Hans Holzer's footsteps, and I'm like, sign me up. So
Wow.
they'd already had Cindy signed up as the medium. They had me then signed up as a lead investigator, and then we went through a few people, trial and error, trying to find the right fit for us for the tech. And that's when we came upon Shane Pittman. And I love Cindy and Shane like brothers and sisters, and Shane and I have become insanely close as friends and brothers. And I've got full respect for my team and enjoy working with them. And we got to do 2 full seasons, 23 episodes of the Holzer Files. I was very, very lucky to be a part of that. They did not continue the series, sadly, but they did roll Cindy and I onto a new program that should be out later this year. And Shane was picked up on another network, and he is on another paranormal show that will be out later this year. And unfortunately, that's all I can tell you at this point. But as soon as there's more information, I'll be talking about it on my show and on social media.
Because I was definitely going to ask you those questions next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was definitely coming up. Well, that's great, though.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a real treat. And to get to go to these places that meant so much to Dr. Holzer. Our very first episode was filming at the Whaley House. And I think that's the 3rd episode to air, but it was the very first episode we filmed together as a team. And it was weird. At first I was like, God, why are we doing the Whaley House? Every show has done the Whaley House. What is there left to uncover? And they said, well, you're the journalist. Dig and find out what else there is to uncover. And we dug, and we made some great connections, and we found a whole nother angle to the story nobody had ever talked about. Everybody goes there looking for Yankee Jim, and we uncovered many different stories and many different encounters. And the fact that the haunting didn't start after the Whaleys died. It started while they lived in the home, which was the former site of the Hangman's Noose in town. And Mr. Whaley himself had been there and had seen the hangings that took place, and was part of swift justice for Juan Verdugo and his crew. And he was one of the men that shot him. And they made him dig his own grave. He stood in front of his grave, and 3 of the men shot him, and he fell into the grave. They covered him up, and that was it. And then he bought that property for like $5 because it was tainted property, because they had, people had been hung there. He got a great deal on it, but we were able to uncover original handwritten notes between the Whaleys and each other talking about the haunting. And it was really compelling, and it was great to be there and be a part of that. And then I had the most intense experience of my career up to that point. I'd never been physically touched by a ghost. Cindy was warning me that this ghost was not happy about us being there, and specifically did not like me trying to be an authority. And while we were filming a scene, all of us during the ghost hunt, something hit me so hard, it like hip checked me up into Shane. Shane hit the wall, and that stopped him from falling, and I just hit the ground like a bag of potatoes. And I spun around thinking maybe a cameraman had tripped and fallen into me, and there was nobody there. And that was truly one of the most terrifying moments ever.
That certainly would be terrifying. I find it strange in some ways that Thomas Whaley would have bought the house. He saw the hangings there, you said. I didn't realize that part. If you saw the hangings there on your property, you might. Why would you still buy the property?
you're a businessman,
Oh,
and
okay.
suddenly you can get this property for $5 for this chunk of property. It was prime real estate. $5, you
Oh,
couldn't go wrong, and if you weren't somebody that was superstitious and didn't really buy into that, what did it matter? It was just a plot of land. Didn't matter that from his window he could see the grave of Juan Verdugo and some of the men that he, that had been hanged on his property. So that's a little weird, but it was a different time, right? I mean, we used to celebrate, and there'd be big town parties and barbecues for a hanging. So kind of strange.
that is true. Yeah, we used to used to be like a big party type thing, gathering, definitely.
Mhm.
Also,
How
is it?
difficult? Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, Liz. Go ahead.
How difficult is it to try to contact spirits and work with witnesses while you have a whole production crew surround you?
It's a lot less difficult than hearing what you're saying because you keep breaking up. So I heard you say, how difficult is it was it to try to do an investigation while you're surrounded by a production crew?
Yes.
Not hard at all, because their job, they're like National Geographic cameramen. Their job is to be silent and just film, and they don't interrupt you. They don't cause problems for you, but they were also great to bandy back and forth with. So if I heard something, I could turn to the camera guy and I'm like, did you hear that? And he'd be like, I was outside. Or, yeah, there was somebody downstairs. Okay. So he was able to clarify that for me. But when there were those moments that we heard footsteps running up the hall behind the cameraman, he would not move. He stayed trained on me, but you'd see his eyes just getting bigger as he knew something was coming up on him. And then I'd shake my head and he was like, just stunned. Oh my God, there's something here. But I think that energy, that nervous energy, helped us in some of these locations. And we didn't have a big crew. We had 2 camera guys, 1 sound guy, and then the 3 of us. So there was a total of, 6 people in those locations, and they were all accounted for at all times. And production all had to be outside in their tent or in their RV. So they weren't near us. They weren't disturbing us. They weren't a part of the investigation. And if they came in, they had to call that they were coming in. We would hear the doors because they all had bells or something on them to alert us. So we didn't have any kind of issues at all. And like I said, I think when you have people focused on a situation and they're excited and they want something to happen, or they're terrified something's going to happen, and then you've got 3 people investigating it and invested into the moment, I think that energy is like food for these spirits.
Definitely. And that's good. Because I was curious how many people you had in a room. I was curious of that as well. That's not too many considering, really.
No, it was very small. We had all of sorry about that. My alarm started going off here on my phone.
No problem.
We had a total of 6 people in the location at all times, and that was it. And like I said, we might have like when we were in the Queen Mary, we had to run cables, so we might have 2 people in there lifting and holding cables so that things wouldn't get snagged going around corners. But again, everybody had to be radio silent and they had to be positioned, and we had them on camera so our director could see everybody and know where everybody was. And if we would hear king and I'd turn around and be like, what was that? We'd hear, they'd radio into the camera guy. That was the PA dropped his walkie-talkie in the hall. So they were great at telling us what was going on, so we weren't, seeing false evidence as real.
That's important too, because
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people when doing the paranormal, you got tag stuff as well.
Right.
Anything you're not certain of, you got tag.
Right.
And or mark it in some way so you can tell.
And for listeners that don't know, tagging is when you're doing an EVP session or anything, and you're doing the investigation, and you understand, oh, there's a car idling outside going blah, 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 blah. You may think, oh, I'll remember that. But if you don't call it out, car outside idling, later on when you're reviewing the evidence and you hear, one of us says, are you mad that we're here? And then all of a sudden we hear, blah, 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 blah. We're like, oh, it's a demon, right? So it's good to call these things out and know what's going on. And in Minnesota, where I live, we have a very unique, weird thing that happens here because it's cold 90% of the year. When we investigate, we hear a lot of this. Hi, this is Dave. I'm in the basement of the Palmer House Hotel. Is there anybody here that would like to investigate or speak to me? Right? So we're always sniffing our noses. And if you're not paying attention, you'll hear, yes, because it's a yes, right? You're waiting for an answer, and it just happens to have that sound to it. So you've got to be very cautious with how you investigate and know your surroundings, know your frailties, and and falling so that you know that you're not, again, presenting real or presenting fake evidence as real to people.
Definitely. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for the great explanation as well on that, all that stuff. You did mention briefly the Queen Mary. Can you tell us a story from one of your investigations to the Queen Mary?
Well, we did. We were the first paranormal team allowed on the Queen Mary with nobody else there. Remember, this has been a fully functioning resort hotel since 1967 when it was docked in Long Beach, California. I have multiple events there, probably 13 events over the last 17 years, and loved going there. Always had strange phenomena take place. From water turning on in your room and in the sinks, toilets flushing by themselves, just strange things taking place. It was really cool. But then to get to go in there, you could sense that the ghosts were hungry. This is the first time they'd been cut off from their lifeblood, from the life of the employees and the passengers and everybody that would come on board. So it was really, heartbreaking. And you could sense that with the spirits.
All right. I also had one of the episodes doing the research that I really enjoyed, and very unusual as well, was the Howard Lodge one. I forget the state though. I'm sorry on that. But can you tell us a little bit about that investigation?
You're catching me off guard too, because that was 2 years ago, and we did so many different episodes, and a lot of them were based on the East Coast because of Hans being in the New York area. Can you give me a little bit of the story, and it'll
Sure.
rekindle the name
Elizabeth.
of the place?
Elizabeth was the possible ghost, and she people really felt homey in that house. The house would like draw mostly children of the people that lived there, kind of to it. Was what the thought was, in general.
Yeah, I think that wasn't that episode called Forever Home.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a really fascinating story, because this there was so much tragedy that took place there, and the kids that were there were the ones that were seeing the spirits primarily, and they felt very akin to this location, like they wanted to be a part of it. And the one young man who was a former usher at the White House, he's an adult man, and when he came to talk with us, he's like, when I die, I want my ashes scattered here. This property, I feel like I belong to it. And it was really great. And that's where we caught that, one of my all-time favorite apparitions, on the staircase, when we were upstairs in the attic, and all of a sudden you just see this mist start to swirl around, and then it creates almost what looks like a giant angel figure. And then it comes around and sweeps up the stairs. And that was phenomenal. And I'm sorry if you hear strange noises in the background. It's not a demon. My cat somehow got back into the catnip, and he's tripping balls out in my other room. So I apologize. So if you start hearing, "Wah!" It's not a demon. Well, it is a demon, but it's my cat. So.
Hey, no problem. Yeah, that was one of my favorite stories, and one that I found quite amazing, and totally unusual. Because like in the episode, the ghost almost treated all the kids as her own.
Right. And the current owners, the wife believed, the husband not so much. But when we showed him that footage, there was really not much left for him to debate about. I mean, that was one of the best, clearest pieces. And then that was the episode where something kind of spooked Shane out of the basement, and he went flying out and slipped and cracked his elbow pretty good. And then I went down there and challenged the thing, because Cindy's like, don't go down there. It's pissed off. And I'm like, screw that. This is somebody's house. We have to go deal with it. And I realized, the one thing that I really loved about the production company is we weren't going after the demon of the week. So they allowed me to just go down there and, deal with things how I saw fit. And I went downstairs, and I'm like, listen, you got to knock this off. You don't live here. You're dead. And you don't have the authority or right to hurt anybody or frighten anybody here. So you need to go. And I was very respectful, but very stern with the spirits, letting them know what they can and can't do. And that to me was a good power moment of being able to show people you don't have to be afraid. You can empower yourself. And a lot of times the spirits don't even realize they're scaring you. It's just the way they're trying to come through.
All right. Again, everyone, we have Dave Schrader, who's from the Holzer Files and the Paranormal 60, as our great guest for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions, again, please feel free to put them in all capital letters. And also, we're going to try something different. We're going to allow you to call in if you want to talk to Dave. If you're a big fan of his, you've been wanting to talk to him. This is your chance. 845-423-0323. Again, 845. I forgot the last second three numbers.
It's 845-423-0323.
Thank you, Liz. And you can have the chance to ask Dave your own question directly versus going through our chat, or even say, "Hey, Dave, what's up?"
And don't limit it to just people that are big fans. I'll take little fans as well, and people that don't even know me but still would like to ask a question. I don't want to limit ourselves here.
All right.
But I am watching the chat too, so if anybody has any questions in the chat and they want to throw it out there, I'd be happy to answer and do what I can. Now with the Paranormal 60, it's my program. I'm actually on Monday nights live at 9 p.m. Central, and Friday nights live at 9 p.m. Central. Monday nights are set for our guests, where we talk the paranormal, usually with two guests, and we do other little bits. Then Friday nights we do news, and I've got my Friday night news crew that I work with, my three friends from Texas, from different walks of life, law enforcement, military, and banking and tech, and we all love the and are fascinated by the paranormal, so we share the news stories. And we've got a good one this week. We've got one of our listeners is actually joining us to be a news reporter. Tabitha will be joining us for this episode. And then we've got something really cool. Normally, like I said, we do Mondays and Fridays. Next week, we're doing 3 shows. We have Monday night show with the G Crew. So we've got Nick Groff, we've got Chad Lindbergh, we've got Josh Hurd and Johnny Hauser. We're going to have a kind of a ghost stories roundtable and talk about the paranormal. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to do a bonus episode with my buddy Scott Walter from the TV show America Unearthed and the Treasure of the Templars and other programs. And we're going to talk about ancient alien artifacts or fiction. And I have seen some of the most compelling alien artifacts, and the owner of them allowed me to photograph them. We're going to share them and talk with forensic geologist Scott Walter about this and see what his thoughts are. And then we'll have our regular news segment again next Friday as well. So we've got a lot of cool topics and conversations coming up.
That's awesome. Again, let me make sure I got it right, because some of them I got it wrong, I think. Mondays and Fridays at 10 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Central.
Right. Well, you were picking up on it goes to after I do the live show, the audio goes to the UNX network.
Oh, okay.
Then they release the audio version late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. So it's like after midnight Monday. So it's officially Tuesday morning, but that's the way the show runs. But if you want to watch, we're right here on YouTube at the Paranormal 60. Just look up Paranormal 60. And I've got, I kicked this off this year. So we've got about 15 to 17 episodes up. Plus we've got about 8-9 episodes of the news. So there's a lot of cool stuff. Plus there's a lot of interesting stuff on my, my page there. So you can go check out all the different videos, including a look at the skull experiment, which to me is one of the best paranormal experiments ever and is fascinating. So you can actually go see the whole story about that on my, my YouTube page.
Well, that's awesome. How did your radio career start?
Well, I used to run a tin can with some strings to another tin can. It was, I loved radio as a kid. I used to call and harass my local radio hosts, and they would take my calls and answer my questions, and they were always delightful. And then I went off to college and fell in love with the college radio station, KQAL, 89.5, your radio alternative at Winona State University. And I did that for a few years. And then I went back into the real world, and my former co-host and partner on Darkness Radio went into the radio world, and he stayed in that. And then in the end part of 2005, he said, "Hey, Dave, I've got an idea. How about we do a radio show together? I have 1 hour to fill every Sunday night." So we started on January 1st, 2006 with Darkness Radio, 1 hour a night for about a month. Every 1 hour a night, every Sunday night for about a month. We did so well, they gave us 2 hours a night. and we sat there for a couple hours doing 2 hours a night every Sunday. We got picked up by another radio station in town who moved us to Saturday and Sunday, 3 hours each a night. And after a few years of doing that, they switched us to Monday through Friday, 11 to midnight. And then a year later, we became 10 to midnight. And a year after that, we became 9 to midnight. Had we stayed a few more years, we'd be on 22 hours a day, I'm sure of it. But it was a lot of fun. And so that just kept it going. And this last year, after working together for 16, 17 years, I just wanted to go try something different and do something different. And so I left Darkness Radio behind and I started the Paranormal 60. Tim Dennis, my co-host, has kept on with the Darkness Radio program and has a new partner, the Beer City Bruiser, a popular wrestler from Ring of Honor. And they do paranormal talk. And then he's on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm on Monday and Friday. So, we're still able to give you a full week's worth of stuff to listen to. But my show now is called the Paranormal 60. And the reason for that is not because I'm 60, I'm only 54. We're aiming for like a 60-minute show to try to, appeal to the TikTok world that we're in, where everybody wants shorter segments. So I did a 60-minute show, but a lot of nights it goes anywhere from 65 to 80 minutes, just depending on what kind of fun we're having with the show. But I like that it's loosey-goosey and I can do with it what I want.
Well, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever it's kind of going back. Sorry, but
that's fine. I've rambled a lot, so take me back in time, forward in time, whatever you want to talk about. I'm good for it.
Well, we also like to ask, did you ever play any tricks on the camera people?
No, because their eyes on everything. They can see it from all different directions, so there was no way to trick them. I just went in there and did my thing. Besides, I didn't want to do something that looked like I was tricking them, that, I didn't know this production company. I didn't want them to take that and say, oh, let's use that scene in the show where Dave's overreacting to something that wasn't there as he was trying to do a joke, but it'll look good on camera. So no, we never really did any of that stuff. It just, that wasn't what we were about. And, we were following in the footsteps of somebody who was very serious about this. So I tried to show it that same respect.
That's definitely true.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about Paranormal Challenge, the show, a little bit about that anyway?
Yeah, we did this cool little mini-series. Zach Baggins from Ghost Adventures wanted to try this little mini-series, and he asked me if I'd like to be on it as a lead judge. And I said, well, what's the concept? He said, well, we're going to take famous haunted locations like Eastern State Penitentiary and Waverly Hills Asylum and Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, and we're going to bring 2 teams in of 3 people. We're going to put them off in different parts of the building so they're not interfering with one another. And we're going to judge them on their knowledge of the history of the building and the spirits, their knowledge and use of the equipment, and what kind of evidence they bring to us. And I thought, oh, that sounds fun. And then he said, and I want you to bring in 2 different judges so that one judge is for team A, the other one is for team B. And you're kind of the overruling judge on both, watching this, and you're a color commentator. And I said, that'll be great. And we had such a wonderful time with it. And, saw a lot of people that became other names in the paranormal field. Tennessee Wraith Chasers were on an episode, and then they did their Haunted Asylum and Haunted Live and a bunch of different TV shows. So they've been around, and, it's been cool to see some of these characters. Paranormal Expeditions, I think it was. Jesselyn went on to star on the TV show Haunted Collector with John Zaffis. And so, seeing some of these crew come up through the ranks on our show and then get picked up for other TV programs was pretty cool. But it was a really fun little competition show, and we got to see unusual ways of investigating, and we saw some stupid ways to investigate, and we had fun with both. So it was really kind of a fun overall experience. And plus me, I love to travel, and I love to go out and see these places and hear about it.
And that's certainly what matters. And like you said, the cool thing is you do get to learn other tactics to try as well that you might not have thought about.
Exactly. It's all about learning. You never really have it all down. And I've changed and altered the way that I investigate for years. And I know Marla Snyder, you just had the question up there. She wanted to know, have I ever had an attachment? I don't know. I'm not a medium and I'm not a psychic. I've come home from investigations and had weird things happen at home, but does that mean that the ghost came with me, or did it mean that I was in a haunted location steeped in it And I came home, and a spirit saw that I had that kind of energy around me from being in a haunted location, and it drew it to me. Was it my neighbor, who passed away? Was it something across the street? Was it a ghost I met on the airplane? I don't know. I can't tell you where it came from. I've never had any long-term issues. I've had haunted houses, and I've had some weird stuff happen, but I'm very cautious because I do have a family, between my wife and I, we have 11 children. So I've been very cautious with, I know you're saying 11 children. What do you know about protection, Dave? That's why I do a lot of praying before and after an investigation to make sure that I'm not dragging things home with me.
Can you tell us about the Palmer House Hotel?
Yeah, the Palmer House Hotel. This is one of my favorite places to investigate. It's in here in Minnesota. The first time I went there, it's this beautiful, majestic, cool little old boutique style hotel. And, I heard all these stories. And when I went there, the woman that owned it was lovely enough. And she was such a sweetheart, very Minnesota nice. And, she had her stories. And, I always said I'm very skeptical of any haunted place that's attached to a gift shop. So I heard the tales, and we went up to what's known as Lucy's room on the top floor. And I think it's room 17. You'd think after all the years I've been there, I'd remember what room number. I went into the room, and I was standing there talking to her, and the door was wide open next to me. And it's an old building, so the floors are kind of uneven. And as the door opens, it kind of goes up, and you can hear it drag on the carpet. And you actually pull it pretty good to try to get it to come closed. And as we're talking, she goes, "Yeah, this is Lucy's room." And Lucy, she doesn't like men. And I said, "Well, that's tough because you're stuck with me tonight." And the door went wham and slammed right next to me. And I turned, and she goes, "Have fun with that tonight." And we've had all kinds of crazy experiences, things moving on their own, full shadow figures. Large groups of us have seen it happen. We've heard direct voice phenomena. That's where you don't need a recorder. You just hear the voices amongst you and around you. We've seen apparitions, misty apparitions form. We've seen just some of the coolest experiences. And that's why I'm going back in June with Shane Pittman from the Holzer Files and Bill Chappell, who's created a lot of the equipment you see out there in the paranormal field, and Sarah Lemos from the TV show Ghost of Morgan City, and the new travel show. It was called Ghost Town Terror, that took place in Anaconda, Montana. And she's going to be on hand to do, we're doing it as an educational weekend. So Friday, it's a 2-hour presentation from Sarah on how to tap into your psychic abilities, how to open yourself up and ground and protect yourself. Then there's a 2-hour presentation from Bill Chappell. You get to take home a brand new piece of equipment that you're going to get to build and put together on set right there. And then you use it. And it is also built to try to help you start developing your abilities. And then Shane and I will do a 2-hour presentation on ghost hunting and what ghost hunting really is, how you do it, what's the proper techniques. And then that night we get to put it to use, and you get to investigate the Palmer House for 3 to 4 hours. And then we do about an hour and a half review afterwards in the bar, where we can order drinks and food and eat, drink, and be merry and talk about the experiences we've had for the night. So that's pretty exciting. So we're doing one event on a Friday, one event on a Saturday, and I think that's like the 10th and 11th of June at the Palmer House. So if people are interested, they can go to darknessevents.com. That's darknessevents.com, and you can get the tickets and be a part of this really exciting opportunity.
All right. And
yeah,
also,
but the Palmer House has always lived up to every expectation. It's just a really great place with a lot of cool activity and just about every kind of phenomena. There's ghost animals in the basement. There's children's spirits. There are women's spirits, men's spirits. And then you can go in the bar and find other spirits as well.
That's awesome. And also, from what I understand, you are the voice as well for the Obelisk 4 and 5. Is that correct?
Yes. No. Chair. Table. Yeah. I am the voice of the Obelisk 4 and 5. Which is funny because we couldn't use it on Holzer Files because it was my voice. So we had to use the female voice, which is a friend of mine, Susan Cummins, who does the female voice of it. So we have to use that because everybody be like, "That's your voice. How do we know you're not saying demon?" murder, basement, right? So we had to switch over and use the other voice for it. But it was a cool opportunity. Bill was like, "Would you be willing to record these 3,000 words?" And I was like, "Sure," and I did, and he put them into the files, and it was really a cool opportunity.
Well, we did an investigation recently, and we used the Obelisk 5, and a couple words came across, and that when they came across, you obviously put some emphasis into it, like
What?
which was awesome, which was absolutely awesome. We had eerie come, and you'd be like, it actually said it like eerie.
Right? Yeah, I tried to listen. When you start recording 2,000, 3,000 words, it gets boring to be like table, chair, clown, dog, demon, right? And I would try to, and then I'd be like, Bill, Sarah, Mary, right? And then lamp, stool, caskets. So it was just some of the words, and people are like, why did it say it like that? That's terrifying. So we had a little bit of fun with it, but I just think it's funny, especially if your name's Mary and you're in a dark room and all of a sudden the Obelisk calls you out like that when every other name is just Ben, Dave, Tim, Jerry, Mary. Very chilling.
We also had also the word you go surprise. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
also that also got a bunch of laughs from us when all of a sudden the thing would go.
That right, if the ghost is going to want some emphasis and energy on some words, right? And obviously, if they're trying to get across demon to you, it's not going to be like demon, right? It's going to be demon.
Exactly.
So I'd put the rumble and growl. And when I saw the word surprise, I'm like, surprise! Because I figured that's the way the ghost would be saying it to you if it was actually able to vocalize and be heard.
Definitely. I want to say it was awesome and great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, I don't have as much information, but let's talk a little bit about you as well. What do you do when you're not doing like investigations?
Well, I told you I have 11 children, so you can figure out part of what I do. I just a lot of it's doing live events and speaking gigs, and you know how hard it is to book guests for a radio show, prepare for the radio show, do the radio show, promote the radio show. So that takes up a lot of my time, and I've got grandchildren, and I've got kids, and I've got animals, and I love to travel, and I go out to places all over. So it's pretty cool to have these opportunities, and I'm relishing them as much as I can.
Can you tell us where you've been to already?
Oh gosh, here's the thing, and I always tell people, that are down and out, and they're like, "Oh, I've never left my hometown." Listen, until the age of 43, I never left the country, never. And then I set my goal. Well, let's start doing some foreign events. So we did Romania, Germany and Prague, Scotland, Ireland, Australia, England, France. Next year, I'm going to be going to Egypt. So I'm expanding my horizons, and I get a chance to go out, and we get to do investigations at some of these haunted locations. At the Egyptian one, if you have any listeners interested, come with me to Egypt. Not only do we get a chance to go see some of these amazing places, but we get access to 2 of the pyramids to do a paranormal investigation. And we're going to do a seance in Howard Carter's house. Howard Carter, who is famous for finding the tomb of King Tut. So we're going to get to do some amazing things. We are completely safe. We have security and safety protocols in place. It's going to be a fun time. And again, you can find information at darknessevents.com. That's darknessevents.com. But I've been all around. And then, like I said, the Stanley Hotel, the Queen Mary, Eastern State Penitentiary, Waverly Hills, Rolling Hills Asylum, Mansfield Reformatory, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. We've been to most every one of the major hotspots in the United States.
What do you think is the creepiest place you've ever investigated?
Creepiest place I've ever investigated. It kind of depends. Getting knocked on my butt at the Whaley House was kind of unnerving. And I'm not trying to be the tough bad guy. There's a location in the new series I just filmed that really stands out to me, and it is truly one of the most emotional experiences of my life. So I would say that would be the one. but I can't tell you where it is yet. But otherwise, I did an episode in season 2 of the Holzer Files called The Final Word, and we were at Franklin Castle in Ohio. And this one hit me in a number of ways. It was very haunted. It was famous. And it turns out that all of the stories that have been told about it are fabricated, except for the fact that there's this little girl's ghost. And it just so happened I woke up that morning and I'm scrolling through my Facebook as I'm, getting the bleariness out of my eyes, and I'm looking and I see all of a sudden, boy, it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I almost lost my daughter to complications of diabetes. And I just thought, wow, I'm a lucky man. She's still here with us. That's great. And then I go in and I prepare for my interview with the historian, and she starts talking, and then she goes, and then they lost their little girl. And I said, oh, how did that happen? Complications to diabetes. And I just started bawling.
Oh my goodness.
It was really tough. And then this little girl's spirit would only appear to children. And I'm like, well, we're 3 adults. How are we going to get this kid to come out? I can try to egg her out as a parent and grandparent and somebody showing love. But I had the idea, well, if she only talks to kids, I contacted my daughter and I said, would you make me a video, 2 videos of you just asking 5 different questions? And she's like, why, Dad? And I said, well, this little girl passed away from complications to diabetes. And she only appears to children, so maybe she'll talk to you. So I did a recording and I played it back, and I played the video of her asking the questions, and we got a really beautiful EVP. And then later on that night, she appeared on the step behind us, and we caught it on film. And that really hit me in the feels, especially because one of the EVPs that we uncovered, she sounds like she's calling for her daddy. And that just busted my heart up. I spent most of that episode crying. I had to carry, we had our camera guys had packs of tissue paper on their belt because I kept breaking down crying during the filming. Luckily, they didn't show that through the entire episode. They made me look a little bit tougher than I really was in that one. But that episode always stood out to me because of the connection and the fact that my daughter got to be a part of one of the episodes, and there was a connection between her and the spirit realm.
Well, that's awesome that your daughter got to be part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have
Hey,
a
it
caller.
looks like we have a caller. Oh.
Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, we have a caller. Who do we have, Brendan?
Yes, I'm a big fan of Dave's, and I'm wondering if he's single. Well, thank you. But no, I'm not. I'm married. I appreciate that. Apparently, the phone calls are not working properly at this moment.
Perhaps that might be the case.
Well, you can
tell us about
throw your questions over in the chat. I'm watching it, and if I see your question pop up,
okay. Hey, we have Jamie Lynn from Wisconsin.
Very cool.
All right. Jamie, can you hear them?
Just barely, but I can hear slightly.
Hi, Jamie Lynn.
Can you hear us?
Give us a sign of your presence. Well, not working, unfortunately.
I guess
your producer might have to be online for us to hear her, so that might be the loop that you're missing.
Yeah. But
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Jamie Lynn.
Hi.
What's your
Can
question?
you hear me now?
I can hear. Look, you're wearing a ball cap in your picture, and you've got a ball cap on. I feel like I'm out of place. Here, let me.
Keep going.
All right, there we go. Now I've got my spirits hat from Butte, Montana on. What's your question, Jamie?
Well, I don't really have a question, more or less a request.
Sure.
I would like Dave to say my name in his eerie voice.
Sounds a little kinky the way you asked for it. But,
Oh, no. My husband's 2 feet away. He would kill me.
well, I'll tell you a funny story, right? I used to wear these duck footy pajamas to these live events at night, and when we'd go ghost hunting, I'd be dressed in my onesie footy pajamas, and we would do a charity auction at the event, and we would auction off items from the celebrities, and I was leading the auction one night in this very, very hot flannel ducky onesie, and one of the ladies in the audience goes, "How about if you auction off your pajamas?" And I look down at him and I go, "Sure." And I think we sold them for like $200 to this woman and her husband. And then I go, "Well, when we get done, I'll take them off. I'll throw them in the laundry." She goes, "No, we don't want you to wash them."
Ew.
I looked over at her husband and I went, ew, are you going to wear these?
Yeah.
And he just shook his head and looked at the floor. And I said, ew. So I'm not putting it past anybody. All right. So it's Jamie Lynn. Is that your name?
Yes, it is.
All right. Here we go. Jamie Lynn. How's that? Was that creepy enough for you?
Perfect. I
All right.
appreciate you.
Not a problem. Or I could use my actual speaking voice instead of my on-air voice, which would be, "Hi, Jamie Lynn. It's a pleasure speaking with you." And we've lost her. That's it. Now that they know the real voice, they have no interest in talking to me. I see how it is. I've got a banging the microphone here, causing all kinds of havoc. Let me get off this hat because it's hotter than Hades in my house.
Oh, no problem.
The 1 week in Minnesota, we actually have heat. So, all right. Well, thank you for calling in, Jamie Lynn. I'm glad I can serve your purposes of speaking creepily with your name.
Yes, thank you, Jamie Lynn. You were the first caller as well we've ever had.
Nice. Oh,
Yep.
very cool. Let's give her something. I'll tell you what, Jamie Lynn, since you're listening and you called in, you email me, Dave@paranormal60.com. That's Dave@paranormal60.com. I'll send you a signed copy of my book, The Other Side, which I co-wrote with a guest you have coming up, Patrick Burns, and his wife, Marley. So it's a book on how to ghost hunt, and it's a cool little book. So if you email me, I'll send you a free signed copy of that, Jamie Lynn. Or should I say, Jamie Lynn? I'm your boyfriend now, Jamie Lynn. All right.
That is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, time's slipping away. So what else have you got for me in the next 3 to 5 minutes here? What did you want to know next?
Well, is there any other your appearances you want to talk about by chance?
You know, I'm going to be at a lot of places. Darknessevents.com. I'm going to be all over. I'm going to be at the Bigfoot Festival in Oregon in July. I'm going to be in Mansfield, Ohio in a few months, or not in a few months, a few weeks at their big Paracon that's going to be taking place. It's amazing, and there's a lot of the paranormal celebrities. I'm going to be at the New Jersey Para-Unity Conference. So there's places to see me everywhere. Go check it out at darknessevents.com. And I would say that's it. And I want to tell people this. You're listening to this show for a reason. You like the paranormal. You watch these shows because you have a sense for them. Well, I want you to know you're not alone. You're not crazy because you've had these experiences. And although other people may not believe you, there is a community and a family for you out there that will believe you and will listen to your stories. And you can listen to shows like this or the Paranormal 60, Coast to Coast AM, wherever you get that fix. I encourage you to engage in these programs, meet all these great people. I'm seeing all these names over on the chat. And, you know, there's Marla and Charlie and Paranormal Highway and Matt and what is it? CARC Universal, CARC Universal. There's people here that you can chat with and get to know. You can go out to these live events and get a chance to know others like you that have had these experiences and may have felt alone for a long time. I know I kind of did. I felt weird about the paranormal, and we shouldn't have to do that. The closet's wide open now. We can all come out of the paranormal closet and feel free to chat with it. And just, you know, if you have questions, concerns, worries, anything, you can always email me, and I'll do my best to get back to you at dave@paranormal60.com. That's dave@paranormal60.com. And I just want people to embrace the weirdness and the high strangeness of the world around us. Don't get complacent. Don't just sit in misery and wait for the next day to wake up, go to work, come home, eat dinner, go to bed. Look for something to inspire your life. And that's what this paranormal journey has done for me. I took something and I was able to marry two of my passions, radio and the paranormal. And I've been doing it now for 17 years. And I've married my passion of the paranormal and travel, and I've had a chance to see amazing places, amazing things. And I took my love of people and the paranormal, and I've got a chance to make all these new friends and family around the world. So I hope anybody out there listening realizes that there is something bigger, and there are people out here that will listen and want to share in your experiences with you.
I wanted to share with everybody, when I first tried to contact Dave, he was busy, and I left him go. Then I figured, well, I'll reach out to him about 4 or 5 months later. He actually reached out to me about coming on the show long before I was going to reach back out to him, see if he was still willing to.
So I'm desperate and clingy. That's what you just learned. I'm desperate, I'm clingy, and I need attention.
I appreciate it very much because
My pleasure.
Because you certainly could have said, he'll catch me later.
No, I enjoy it when I can. I don't get a chance to do many interviews on other people's shows. So when I get a chance, I love to go out there and meet with different hosts like you and have these conversations. So that's important to me. So thank you very much for letting me into your worlds. And Sean, Liz, it's been a pleasure being a part of this program. And I hope your listeners have enjoyed it. And I hope that they'll continue their education and check out shows like mine, the Paranormal 60, and continue to follow you as well.
Sounds good. I also briefly saw you. I can't say I really said hi to you in State College back in 2007.
Holy cow. Holy cow. Yeah. Boy, that's throwing it back there some years. Huh? That was at, I think, my second UnivCon I went to. Was that the one with Lorraine Warren?
Yes. Lorraine Warren was there. So was the Reverend. Probably one of their last talking times together for certain.
Yeah. Yeah. And I met her there, and then that's how she agreed to become a guest on my radio show. So she was amazing. One of my favorite guests, her, Dan Aykroyd. I've had some really great times over the years talking to some of these people in the paranormal field, and I relish in it.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you again, and because we're about running out of time. Liz, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, just a big thank you, Dave. You are one of my favorite guests that we've had on here. You're absolutely delightful. You're hilarious. And thank you for sharing your adventures with us.
My pleasure, and I'd be happy to come back anytime. When my new show starts airing later this year, as soon as you see me start promoting it, let me know, and we can come on and talk a little bit about what the new project is.
Awesome. I was certainly going to ask you that question. Yes, thank you. Also, I wanted to say you can access, he's a Paranormal Talk radio show, Paranormal 60, which offers shorter interviews cutting to the heart of some of the most fascinating paranormal claims ever heard. It airs at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on Mondays and Fridays. Next week, he also has a Wednesday as well at 10 p.m. as well, Eastern, I assume, and 9 Central. You can also be reached stuff on the unxnetwork.com/the Paranormal 60. But his YouTube channel is youtube.com/the Paranormal 60 with Dave Schrader. And also he can be reached through his website at darknessradio.com.
Or the paranormal60.com. That's even easier now that that's my new show. So you'll find me on both, because I still am friendly with Tim, and we split that website, Darkness Radio, since we built it 17 years ago. We're both on that, but you can find me at paranormal60.com. And it's a lot easier to find me on YouTube by just going to YouTube and then typing in the search bar Paranormal 60, and you'll find me.
Yeah, that is a lot easier than the way I...
That's right. Paranormal60.yahoo//. Yeah. So check it all out, and thank you again for letting me have a voice and for being along with me on this journey.
Hey, thank you. But also, I want to mention his upcoming events as well. Again, May 20th and 22nd, Parapsychon 3 at the Ohio State Reformatory. June 10th and 11th, he'll be at the Spirit and Sixth Sense Retreat at the historic Palmer House Hotel. June 17th to the 25th, there's a trip to Ireland. Certainly be a great trip. July 8th and 9th, he'll be at the Old Joliet Prison. That one is sold out. On July 23rd, the New Jersey Para-Unity Expo. July 30th, he'll be in Oregon at the Oregon Bigfoot Festival and Beyond, the Bigfoot Ghost Edition. August 13th, he goes to Bobby Mackey's. August 19th to 21st, near me, Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. August 25th to 27th, the Michigan Paranormal Convention. September 19th to 26th, Darkness Radio events at Scotland, which is sold out. And they also have another one, which is also sold out October 12th to the 20th as well. February 2nd to the 6th, though, you can join him on that one. There'll be a cruise to the Bahamas.
That's right. It's the Jericho cruise. Chris Jericho, the famous AEW wrestler, is doing his rock and wrestling rager. It's his 4th cruise. I'm his paranormal guy, so I'll be on the ship telling ghost stories. We'll have a lot of fun. We get s'mores and hot cocoa, and I tell you ghost stories on the back of the ship, so it's going to be a blast. And all that information, so you don't have to go through every other iteration of where I'm going to be. Darknessevents.com. That's the easiest way to keep up with all the cool places and find out if I'm coming to your town.
All right. Thank you. That does make it a lot easier than my my drawn out version.
That's right.
But there is one more, so we'll just do that. February 12th to 23rd, his trip to Egypt, which he talked about earlier, which is a seance and a investigating inside a
2 different pyramids. We get to see some amazing historic sites, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and we get to investigate like an Egyptian. Isn't that how you do?
All right. If you like the broadcast, consider helping us out by liking and sharing. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching on Facebook, or by giving a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and sharing on YouTube. Also, don't forget to hit the bell so that we can be notified of all future broadcasts. Thank you. We appreciate all of you, and thank you for joining us. Our next broadcast will be Thursday, May 26th, with Katie Burr from Everyday Paranormal Ghost Lab and their new podcast, The Investigators. June 9th, we'll have Mike Ricksecker on. He'll talk about the Alaskan Triangle and shadow people. Thank you, Brendan. June 23rd, Rick McCallum, who's an actor, stuntman, paranormal investigator, and a member of the Hollywood Ghost Hunters. July 7th, we'll have Patrick Burns from Haunting Evidence. He's also an author on the paranormal. All right. Dave, please hang on for the outro of the backstage. And Brendan, go ahead, take us out.
Hey, this is Chuck Larson. You're watching the CARC channel on YouTube.
You've been watching Paranormal Files Into the Darkness, a Catskill Appalachian Research Collective production. For more information on this program and others like it, remember to like, share, and subscribe to CARC Universal today. To join the conversation on our Facebook group, become a member of the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective Facebook group. CARC. Relentless.